Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with another review to The Walking Dead. This episode was episode 11, which was called Dead or Alive or... And Negan filled that in with us by saying it was something in between. Yeah, like I said in my reaction, this isn't necessarily my favorite episode. It was good to kind of get a bit of a catch up with some of the other characters that were there, but I don't really feel like we got the development that I would have hoped for in seeing those scenes. I mean, I am glad that we got to see where Negan's plan is going next as far as the stuff that Eugene was up to, but yeah, all the stuff that was with Rick's actual group and the travel between, you know, Alexandria to Hilltop was kind of, I don't know, I guess I expected a little bit more from it, if that makes sense. But I didn't actually write too many notes down. There was a lot of dialogue in this episode, so I was kind of following that a bit more. But I can go through a couple of highlights that kind of stood out to me. I think Negan is on to Eugene. Despite the fact that he has, you know, that Eugene's story keeps checking out, as it were, I do think that Negan's not so stupid as to not realize that Eugene was somehow involved with the escape of the doctor and Gabriel. For all the stuff that Negan is, he's not completely stupid when it comes to the importance of people. You know, Negan will kill people, but he very much is shown, especially last week with the whole thing with Simon, he very much shows that he knows that people are a rare commodity. He knows he needs the living, and he needs smart living people more than, you know, more than anything. So even though I think he's fairly certain that Eugene is lying to him and that Eugene's, you know, got some stuff going on, he needs Eugene's skills too much to really do anything about it. And the fact that Eugene is still cooperating, I think, is probably the only reason he didn't try to do more to him in that particular instance. But yeah, I just think that, you know, this whole thing with Eugene just kind of playing the field, I don't know what to think about Eugene. I mean, I'm not a fan. I've never been a big fan of his character. I've always found him somewhat entertaining because he's got good jokes and stuff, but I've never been a big fan of his whole, like, fence riding, oh, I'm just a coward and oh, poor me. You know, like, this far into the apocalypse, dude, you need to, like, just man up and either just play to your strengths or not. I'm kind of over him getting this little look on his face where, like, he feels guilty about all the terrible things that Negan and his people are doing to Rick and his people. I mean, he made his bed, right? He knew that by letting the Alexandrians out, by, like, I mean, and I know that in effect he was saving himself because he was trapped inside of the sanctuary as well, but by letting all of Negan's people go, like, he knew, you know, Eugene made a choice. He knew that basically he was going past the point of return as far as Rick and his people were. So I just kind of wish he'd just stand in that and stop at the whole trying to be like, oh, how are they doing? Or how things go? Is everyone... Sorry, you can't have it both ways, Eugene. And I love that Negan brought that out. I was like, dude, you don't get to care about that. Like, if you're here, you're here. And you know that whatever we do is to preserve our people, not those people. As far as the stuff with Father Gabe and the doctor, I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was kind of funny. It's nice to see Father Gabriel be so kind of lighthearted and jovial. I mean, considering the first, like, the first stretch of when we saw him, he was always so scared and nervous and stressed and distrustful. This is really a different side to him. But we've seen him kind of be a bit zen. Like, ever since this whole war thing kind of started and he accepted that he was part of it, he's definitely been a lot more comfortable with that decision and happy in general. So that part isn't different, but just kind of seeing him be a little loopy with fever was, it was a little entertaining, I suppose. I really like Seth Gilliam as an actor, so that's why I found it, you know, somewhat enjoyable. But overall, it was kind of like they basically traveled to a place to get more antibiotics, which are necessary to keep Father Gabriel's character from dying, but they clearly didn't want him to make it all the way to the hilltop to get back with Rick's people. So I just feel like that was kind of a large exercise, especially in the end, since we ended up losing the doctor. And, you know, when it comes to Walking Dead, I'm just so over this, like, one of anything rule that they have. They seem to have a one-off rule for everything. So because Saeed has medical experience, we can't possibly have the other doctor. Why? Why couldn't we have two doctors? Why couldn't we have two doctors in Alexandria? There's enough people there to need two doctors. But nope. Because Saeed's the new doctor, we gotta kill off the other two doctors. It's the same thing with Denise, right? Because we had the introduction of the Hilltop and the other doctor. Oh, let's kill Denise. Don't need her anymore because she's got medical experience. You know, the same rule, like I joked on Twitter and stuff about, you know, how The Walking Dead has the one black person rule, the one black man rule. We've seen it a few times now that when a new male black character comes rolling into the recurring cast, the one that was there before suddenly gets bit or shot, right? So anyway, I've been kind of sad that they're not keeping more than one doctor around, but whatever. I suppose that's what keeps the stakes high on this show. But yeah, it was kind of sad that Dr. Carson had to go out like that. I knew it was a bad plan. I knew it was all going too well too. I'm like, this is The Walking Dead. There's no way these guys are going to have all this serendipity to finding medication, to finding a car, finding all these things, and just make it back to Hilltop with a fresh new vehicle. No, not happening. But it was very sad to see the spirit of faith that Father Gabriel had be crushed like that. But as many a person of faith has known that, you know, you can't give up on your faith when it's tested, right? Having faith doesn't mean it only works when everything goes your way. Having faith means, you know, staying strong when things aren't going your way. And I guess that brings us to the bigger part of the episode, which was the whole traversing from from Alexandria to Hilltop, and by extension, the Tara and Dwight stuff. Now, the whole journey, there's not much to talk about. I mean, we knew it was going to be dangerous. I mean, that big of a group of people trying to traverse, I mean, I don't know how long it was, but I'm assuming it was at least a couple days journey. That's pretty insane, right? Especially with women and kids and injured people. But, you know, it was what it was. The swamp was probably supposed to be the scariest part of the episode. But we've kind of already done the water stuff already. Like, remember last season with Rick trying to get the supplies from that house that was out in the water? Like, we've kind of already done the whole submerged walker thing. We did it too with, that's how we lost, so it just kind of lost the whole wow factor that I would have probably felt with that, because we've seen submerged walkers. We've seen the whole idea of, you know, walkers being in water and not being able to see them. So it just kind of, you know, as I said, I mean, it was cool, but it just didn't have that same, I think, impact that it would have if it had been the first or even the second time that we've seen it. But really, I think the whole point of that whole journey was to bring out what was going on between Tara and Dwight. And I understand Tara's anger. Like, I complained during the reaction, but I do get it. Like, Tara really hasn't had time. And it's so hard because as an audience, this, you know, for an audience, like, Denise died forever ago, right? It's like almost going on 2 years ago since Denise died. But we got to remember that in Showtime, it hasn't been very long. It's been maybe a month or so, a couple of months since Denise died. Tara wasn't there. And obviously, she knows that Dwight's responsible. So I get the raw anger and I get the raw emotion. But, you know, as Rosita and Daryl both tried to bring out to her, it was like, dude, like, there's a time and a place. This isn't it. He's helping us right now. He's had plenty of opportunities to screw us over. He hasn't done it at this point. Like, we gotta trust him at least till we get to a point where we don't need what he has anymore. Tara was silly. She's been silly since this whole season started, being too impetuous, too cocksure about trying to get her revenge, and it just, nothing changed in this episode. But I'm glad that it took Dwight having to go back to the Saviors for her to finally figure out, oh, yeah, maybe we were wrong about him. But now they've lost a very valuable piece of intel. Now I'm hoping that Dwight will find some way to get out to them first, but I just don't see that happening. Negan's going to be keeping an eagle eye on everybody at this point. And the fact that the girl who does know that Dwight's a traitor is still out in the wind is very worrisome. And then I think the only other thing was Tara's dilemma. With all these people at Hilltop now, she's got, you know, what's left of the kingdom. She's got what's left of Alexandria, plus her own people, plus the Saviors that she's got captured. That is a lot of people, a lot of mouths to feed, and she could barely feed what was on Hilltop already. So, yeah, she's having some hard decisions to make as far as how they're going to split the food and the water. And obviously, the people who are there, who are her people in the Alexandria section, are probably going to have a problem with sacrificing food for themselves and for their children to give to the people who would turn around and put guns to their heads, you know, if Negan's people showed up. So it's a very precarious position for Maggie to be in, but I mean, that's Jesus's fault. You know, he brought them there with, oh, we can do better. Really, Jesus, we don't have the means. It just wasn't smart thinking. It was a dumb plan. And now it is starting to get to that place where unfortunately it's biting Maggie in the butt, even though she didn't really make the call to bring them there in the first place. So It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do from this point forward. Something's got to give. Unfortunately, I think with Negan's whole plan of showing up and trying to infect as many people as possible, I mean, how else is it going to go? Right? Alexandria's gone. They have no food from Alexandria. They have no supplies from there. Kingdom, the same thing. No food, no nothing from them. There is no food left. And if they can't come up with that to feed all those people, they're going to start dying anyways. So I feel like, unfortunately, what's going to happen with Negan might be a necessary culling, because I can't think of any other way right now for Team Rick to get out of this. But Rick has just shown up at Hilltop, so we'll see what his plan is going forward. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're at episode 11. There's only 5 episodes left in the season, so I expect to see some pretty big movement in the next few weeks. I really want to see, like, stakes need to be raised again. Like, my biggest thing with this is that, like, I get that there's 16 episodes in a series, and so, like, they're trying their best to make sure that they fill it with, you know, good content, but this is supposed to be a war. And wars are supposed to be tense and nail-biting and clenchy, and I just feel like when the show takes too many breaks, like we've had this episode and last week's episode, when you have a little too much of a breather from the action, you lose the sense of urgency that's necessary to believe that the stakes are high and that this is a war for, like, their very lives. I'm just hoping that for the last few episodes, and I know that it's a lot as far as the emotions involved and the amount of stress it takes to watch it, but they really do need to turn the volume up just a little bit on this whole war thing. Otherwise, it really is going to kind of lose the whole, you know, the dramatic effect that something of this weight should have. So that's my only real critique about it. But overall, you know, I still love this show and I love watching it. So what did you guys think of this episode? Do you feel like it had some really valuable stuff to add to the whole series overall, or do you feel like it's kind of one of those things where you could have probably just plucked this one out and we still would have been good? And also, do you feel like there's any significance to what happened to Father Gabriel? I'm trying to figure out what this means to have him potentially almost blinded and back well within Negan's employ. And also, do you think that Dwight's going to be able to find a way to make it out and warn Rick's people about what Negan's planning? Please leave your comments below. Let's get into this discussion, guys. Let's talk it out, okay? And if you like this video, guys, please go ahead and click that like button. If you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.